On November 25, 2017, Tess Richey did not come home from meeting a school friend. While her family did file a missing persons report, the police did not find the young lady. Hi, and welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, please consider subscribing, as it helps us motivate to create more intriguing content for you. Let's have a look at the emotionally devastating incident involving Tess Richey. Tess Richey was born on November 30th, 1994. She is the youngest of 5 girls in her family. Richey grew up in North Bay and then moved to Toronto when she was 19. Tess loved her family, her dogs, and her life. If Tess could get a job as a flight attendant, she would be able to see the whole world. After taking the flight attendant training at Senna College in North Toronto, she was taking steps to do just that. She also tried to get a job at one of Toronto's big hotels at the same time. It is too bad Tess could not find a job she liked. Her family helped her out financially and never turned her down when she asked for money. Tess had her own YouTube account too. She last posted a video there on February 23, 2014. It is too bad that Tess had more serious problems in her personal life a few years after making that video. Tess and her boyfriend Julian broke up, which made her feel bad. Rachel, her 8-year-old sister, was very close to her. On November 24th, Tess spent most of the day at Rachel's house in Toronto. They went shopping, talked about the breakup, and went to a dog park. Rachel made food for her sister that night, but her sister was too stressed to eat, so Rachel had to convince her to do so. Even so, Tess planned what she would do that night. She chose to meet up with Riley Simard, a friend from school. Like Richey, Simard was born in North Bay and moved to Toronto in the summer of 2017. They had not talked in years, but since they both lived in the same city, they did start to see each other again. Simard suggested that they visit Cruise and Tango, a popular gay bar near Church and Wellesley. Rachel's boyfriend called Richey an Uber that night so she could meet Simard downtown. Rachel Richey saw her sister running to the Uber down the front walk. She would never see her alive again after that brief glimpse. Around midnight, Richey got to Cruise and Tango, but Simard was not there yet. There were lots of people in the club. Tess texted her sister to let her know she got there. Rachel Richey texted her younger sister in the morning after the event. Since Tess had been out the night before, she did not think she would hear back right away. Rachel still had not heard from her at 6:30 p.m. She soon found out that none of her texts had reached Tess. Rachel tried to call, but all of her calls went to voicemail. Christine Hermiston, Tess's mother, also tried to call her, but her phone was off. At 4:02 a.m., Christine got a message saying that Tess had called for an Uber, but soon after, she changed her mind. Tess put in her mom's credit card number when she signed up for Uber. Because of this, Christine got a notification every time her daughter took a taxi. Family and friends always talked to Tess, so when her phone did not work during the day, they thought something might have happened to her. She almost always had her phone with her. Rachel asked her partner to check out the apartment where her sister lives. She also began calling her friends at the same time. At around 9 p.m. on Saturday, Tess was still not at Rachel's house in Toronto. Her family did not like what was going on. Rachel called hospitals and the police from the start. The police still did not know where Tess was by the next evening. Numerous police officers tried to locate Tess Richey, but had not seen or heard from her for 2 days. Christine and one of her sisters went from North Bay to Toronto on Monday to help with the search. They put up and gave out flyers with Tess's picture on them in the hopes that someone would have seen her. The family did everything they could. The cops did not put on their best face when they were looking into Tess's disappearance, but we will talk about that more another time. At the same time, Tess's friend Riley, who went to the bar with them, got home safely that night. When they asked Riley where Tess was, she said that she and Tess had been drinking so much that the bar staff asked them to leave. Just after 2 in the morning, they left the bar and went to Wellesley Street to get something to eat. Before they got there, they met a guy who joined them. It was hard for Riley to remember his name. They got hot dog on Wellesley Street. The seller and Tess got into a fight because Tess wanted a veggie hot dog. Tess thought they gave her a hot dog with meat on it. Riley said that her friend sprayed the vendor cart with mustard. She, Tess, and the other guy had to run to Dundle Street after that. They talked to a woman on the porch of a house while they were there. Michelle Teep was her name. They talked for about 20 minutes. Michelle was shocked to hear that Tess had just broken up with her boyfriend. She also told Michelle how hard it was for her. Michelle tried to help Tess, and the two of them even swapped phone numbers. Teep said Richey looked like she was having fun, but when she looked into her eyes, she saw sadness. It looked like the split with Julian was making her feel down. Teep stated that she had told her that everything gets better and to just hang in there. Riley got a text message from her boyfriend at 4 a.m. asking her to come home. She said goodbye to Tess and walked home via Yonge Street. Riley had left Tess, which made her sad. She called for an Uber at 4:02 a.m. So it is likely that Tess left her friend and then went home herself. Tess was not there when the driver showed up at 4:14 a.m. Christine put up flyers with a picture of her daughter Tess, again in the area where people last saw her on November 29th, just one day before her 23rd birthday. Christine chose to look around this area because she knew Riley had left Tess on Dundonald Street. Anne Brazo, a nurse at St. Michael's Hospital, was the first person she talked to because their girls had been friends since North Bay Elementary School. Together, they set out to find Richey while more people searched for her and used social media to try to find her. That is when Brazo found something very scary. Brazo noticed Richey's body in the outdoor stairwell at 582 Church Street while looking down. She mentioned that in 2017, the house was under renovation and had fencing around it. She tearfully described feeling shocked and unable to comprehend what she saw, saying, "I was scared with dust from a nearby gravel pile on her body like soot." Brazo released the handrail, walked back down the gravel path toward Church Street, and called out to Hermiston. She told Hermiston, "Christine, come back here," and when Hermiston quickly turned around and reached the stairs, Brazo informed her there was a girl in there. "You need to come back." After a brief moment, she began to scream and prayed for help. The death of Tessa made things very hard for her whole family. It only took 300 yards to find her body from the bar where she went before she disappeared, and only 20 yards from where her friend Riley last saw her. It made people wonder a lot about what the cops do. In the end, her body was only a few blocks away from the bar. One unnamed police source told the press new information after Anne and Christine found Tessa's body. Tess supposedly worked in a strip club and offered her sex services on the internet. Erneston's mother expressed her dissatisfaction with the Toronto police, stating that they had not conducted an adequate search for Richey due to their assumption that she was involved in escort services. She found it distressing to learn about this. Hermiston was upset by the information shared by police sources with the media after her daughter's body was discovered. She emphasized that Richey was not earning a living in the sex trade industry, considering it a clear falsehood. She believed that the information was deliberately leaked to create a perception that Richey led a high-risk lifestyle and was in a laneway with someone, deflecting blame away from the police. She did work as a waitress at a strip club, but Tess quit less than 2 weeks after they hired her. As for the ad for sexual services, it was just a dating site account. After finding Richey's body, no one knew what had happened to her. At first, police did not think there was any foul play, but after an autopsy showed she had died from having her neck squished, the murder unit took over the case. They also found spit and seminal fluid on the girl's bra and clothes. They found evidence of male DNA after doing some tests. That is why the cops finally began looking for a suspect. Detectives were trying to figure out who the guy was that the girls met that night based on Riley's story. He did stay with Tess after Riley went home. After all, the police looked at CCTV video to find out more about what happened that night. Watch this video to see Tess and Riley leave the bar and walk toward the hot dog cart. The house next to where Brazo found the body also had CCTV cameras. The police looked at the recordings and saw Tess and her new friend walking up the gravel path together. Reports from the cops say that the camera caught Tess and this unknown man at 4:14 a.m. After 46 minutes, the next recording shows the guy going by himself. Since Tess did not show up in the video again, the cops thought this man was the main suspect in the Tess Richey case. During a news conference on December 10th, The Toronto police showed pictures of this man that they had taken with a video sensor. They hoped that someone would see him. The ATM camera took bad shots. There was an ATM right next to where Richey bought the hot dogs. In the evening of the same day, the cops found out who this man was. Surprisingly, the man called the police himself after seeing the pictures that were public. He stated that he was the person in the picture. Karan Schlatter, a 21-year-old, had been with Tess that night. He was a car mechanic and had studied for a year after college. He also worked with his dad in building. He proceeded to the police station with his parents and one of his lawyers. He talked to detectives for a short time, but refused to testify. His family brought him some food and a bottle of water. In the end, they gave cops some very important proof. Schlatter threw away an empty water bottle while he was still at the police station. The cops quickly took it and sent it to a forensic medical examiner. It took some time, but they finally figured out that the DNA sample on the bottle and the DNA samples from Tess Richey's seminal fluid and spit were from the same person. The police were going to spy on Schlatter for a few weeks by going underground, but the DNA results sped up the process. Schlatter was caught around 11 p.m. on February 4, 2018, after going to the Cineplex in Queensway, Etobicoke, with his family to watch the Super Bowl. They took him to 13 Division and put him in his cell for now. There were 2 other guys in jail cells next to him on February 5th. It was a surprise to Schlatter that both of them were secret police officers and that he was about to give them a lot of proof. There was a bed, a toilet, and a sink in each of the 3 men's separate, plain holding rooms. All 3 of them were facing the same wall in Schlatter's cell, which was between 2 police officers. Somehow they were able to talk for hours even though they could not see each other. Schlatter told these police officers how much he loved playing cards and how he could get women to like him. He says that he has slept with over 40 people, even though he is only 21 years old. He did not say that he liked both men and women, though, as it turned out, Schlatter met Tess and her friend Riley in a bar not on the street. That is where he first saw them. They made this recording right before security told Tess and Riley they had to leave the bar. Schlatter also told police agents who were not watching about Tess. He first said she was still alive when he left. Soon after, Schlatter said that something might have happened because he was drunk and his mind was not clear. He did not believe he could do it. The cops said Con Schlatter killed Tess Richey, but he denied it. An investigation into Alan McCullough and Michael Jones, 2 police officers, found guilty of misconduct and lack of duty in June 2018 under Ontario's Police Services Act. The notice of hearing says that they allegedly did not check the adjacent property or the immediate area carefully, talk to neighbors, or tell a supervisor. According to Christine Hermiston, they would have found her if they had done things the right way. She was lying close by. Even with all of this, both cops kept their jobs with the police, but were punished. Karan Schlatter's defense team tried to show that he was not guilty during his hearing in 2020 by saying that someone else could have climbed over the fence on the other side of the building to get to the stairs where Tess was lying and not been seen by the cameras. The lawyers even gave the police the name of another suspect, but after checking them out and questioning them, they found no proof that linked them to Tess's death. DNA, proof only pointed to Count Schlatter as the person who did it. Schlatter was a short man who seemed quiet in court. He told them that he has a speech problem that makes him slur his words and stuttered some of the time. He tried to explain why his DNA was on Tess's things by saying that she had offered to hide him from people who were looking. Tess Richey called for an Uber at 4:02 a.m. At 4:14 a.m., the driver got to the pickup spot, but Tess was not there. Schlatter went up to Richey again instead of letting her meet her Uber driver. At the corner of Church and Dundonald, they sat down on a bench. He said, "Tess looked a little more upset after the fight, so I walked over to her to make sure she was okay." He said Richey asked him to sit down and talk. There is no way to check his story because there is no sound on any camera video from the area. Schlatter mentioned that Richey was upset about her breakup, so he began discussing the conclusion of one of his previous relationships to try and comfort her. He said she paid close attention and even turned down a phone call while they talked. The cops looked at Tess's cell phone records and found that no one had called her while they were talking. Schlatter conveyed that afterward, she inquired if it was all right to kiss him. There was also an unverifiable claim that they both stood up and embraced each other with a kiss, which detectives failed to confirm when examining the CCTV footage. Schlatter said that Richey told him to follow her to the driveway at 582 Church Street and down into the stairs on the properties outside. The government thought these words were false because the Uber driver was already waiting for Tess at that time. Schlatter was supposedly going to offer to walk Tess to her car, but he had something else in mind. As they walked up Church Street, Schlatter told Tess Richey something that will never be known. He did it to get her to walk into the dark at 4 a.m. with the new guy she met. Schlatter said that he and Tess kissed when they got down the stairs. It is important to remember that Schlatter told all of this, and the cops could not confirm it. That night, only 2 people were telling the truth about what took place. One of them had already died. Riley, a friend of Tess's, and Michelle Tepp, a woman they talked to that night, were witnesses for the prosecution. Both of them said Schlatter's name. In 2018, Schlatter reportedly told 2 undercover cops everything that was going on in his life, and also told a cellmate important details while they were both in a Toronto detention center for about 2 months. The man, who can only be called S because his name cannot be revealed, has been in trouble with the law for decades, including several break-ins and an attack on a family member. The source said that at first he felt bad for Schlatter because he was a young guy going to jail for the first time. So while they were in safe custody, ES asked him to share his cell. But over time, S did not like his new cellmate as much. People said Schlatter did not feel bad about killing Richey, even though he cried himself to sleep at night because he missed his mom and did not want to do time. The other person told him about the kiss he had with Richey and how he lost control when she told him she did not want to go any further. He could not stop, so he used a scarf to choke Tess. In court, Schlatter said that those talks did not happen at all. His lawyer said that he was a bad liar who was always lying. Without any witnesses and only looking at the physical proof, we can say that someone strangled Tess Richey because only Schlatter's DNA was on her clothes. In her final statement to the jury, Lydia Riva, the defense lawyer, said that Schlatter was a good kid and an honest young man. Riva said that the criminal justice system does make mistakes, even if it is hard to believe and makes us feel bad. It was easy to get Mr. Schlatter. It is easy to blame him. The judge found Schlatter guilty on March 23, 2020. The judge gave him a life sentence in jail with the chance to get out after 25 years. People who cared about Richey, like his mother, sisters, and other friends, were shocked and crying during the trial. Their lives will never be the same, even though they now have some of the solutions they looked for so long. Richey's sister Vina said that evil not only killed Tess that night, but it also put her family through a terrible future and took away a lot of love and promise from the world. My mother said that Tess's death has caused a lot of pain in the family. It is hard for us to look at each other because we all feel like we let Tess down. We are very guilty, which is why we are still fighting for Tess. We are not going to let her down again. They want $20 million in damages, which includes severe damages. What are your thoughts about this case? Let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching.